Now, the ice regress. I'm trying to give you the social climate. Now, when these icebergs are moving, they sound like lightning. They like bolts, and they rock the whole earth. And it's like an earthquake all the time. You walk down the street, and the street opens up and swallows you. You see, this is the ice age. This is the kind of social environment they were in. Understand me? Now, with all that going on, you have human traps. Now, I know you think that the Europeans are buying us as slaves to work the land, but some of us were sold just for delicacies. Some of us were eaten. They have human traps. They have traps for how to capture children. They have human broths, how to bake a child. These are in their recipe books. Race and Civilization is the name of the book, and if you want to know how the Europeans really behave, you read a book called Dirty. Dirt. That's what it's called. Race and Civilization is one book, and the other book is Dirt. That's the title. I can't think of the authors right now. But the behavior is what we're talking about. And when you have this atmosphere where the earth is shaking and rolling under your feet, it can produce a lot of fear in you. And then the food supply, because the land is frozen and the water is frozen, so you have a shortage of food. So you're going from starvation to overeating, starvation to overeating, which we call binging or bulimia. And when you meet people, you transmit the same illness to them. And so you got black people that overeat, and they go on a diet, which is starvation, and they overeat, and they go on a diet. So we're just copying their behavior. See, they don't have to teach us confusion, they are confusion. You see. Nonetheless, we have all this going on, and then we have something that closely resembles their social condition. And the social condition is that of what we call a wolf pack. It's wolf pack behavior. In that when a wolf captures its prey, they are together killing the carcass, and then once the carcass is killed, then they start fighting amongst each other. And that's what they always do. Their wolf packs today are called alliances. North American Treaty Alliance, United Nations. These are alliances that they form to attack a caucus, or be that Africa, Somalia, Ethiopia. And once they have attacked it, then they fight amongst each other. Yeah. This is wolf pack behavior. And the wolf always resorts to juvenile behavior after it captures its prey. It becomes very childish and licks each other and cuddles up and does these very childish behaviors. And sure enough, after they capture their prey, be it African people in prison, or sexually, however they want to capture us, or capture us through peace, or capture us through war, any tool that they use is to rule and control you. It doesn't matter what the tool is. The tool can be war, the tool can be peace, the tool can be religion. Any device they use is going to be used to rule and control you. If they give you money, they use money to rule and control you. 90% of all the millionaires, black millionaires, invest in white people, in their businesses, excuse me. So money is just used. You say, all this money black people make. Yes, but they gave it to you, so whoever gave it to you for their benefit. So what they gave you is to rule and control you. So you fight to vote. Now that you vote, and they use voting to rule and control you. Then you fight to get in the classroom. And what do they do? The miseducation of the Negro. Do I have to go into that? They use education to rule and control.
Attention, please. Workshop, boys and men.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Yes, so what we have is the wolf pack behavior. Now I'm going over a lot of large concepts very fast, I know that. So, what I'm trying to say is they wolf pack. That's why they come together and have sex, which we call orgies. See, they always come together for these activities. They come together and burn a Negro at the stake, and you called it the Ku Klux Klan. Then the meeting's over, then they fighting each other at work and doing this same little childish behavior. Or if they have a celebration, they use alcohol, and then they start acting silly. Then you wonder why they're acting silly, because they were always silly. But the thing is, I'm just trying to identify some of the things so you can start looking at an animal that's behaving like a human being. Because to be human doesn't mean you have 2 legs and 2 arms. Human is a way of behavior. That's why our ancestors said, when you finish what we call the rites of passage, which is a German term for a course of academic study. We're academicians. We teach. We learn. But the German invented this term rites of passage to kind of throw you off. Like they invented the term naturopathy, which is my field, naturopathic medicine, to throw you off. They are not going to call it African hygienic health. They are not going to call anything of ours African and let us know. So they invent another term. Remember, they're coming from the Ice Age, 5,000 years ago. Here you are, African man and woman, averaging 200 to 300 years of age. They're living to be 30 years of age. You have the equivalent of a PhD at 12 years old. That's your level of intelligence in Africa. What you're fighting to get to, a 12-year-old kid already has. So here you come with all this intelligence and this vast vocabulary, because remember, they're coming out of the Ice Age, so they didn't have indoor plumbing like our ancestors had, or glass windows, remember this. We had a whole vocabulary of words, they didn't know what we were talking about. And you're trying to pick out some words to communicate to them. So there is no connection between what you are saying at all. None whatsoever. It's similar to you. You don't know anything about, say, if I start talking about the neurohormonal connections and all that, and I'm talking biochemistry, and you walk into class and I'm giving this biochemical lecture, you say, well, this is a mystery to me. So when they walk into an African college or university, they say, this is a mystery system. This is all a mystery to me. So they name our system a mystery system. Because it is a mystery to them. Excuse me. Nonetheless, this is the condition that they were in when they came into Africa. Mineral deficiency from the glaciated soil. The plants raised on that soil lacked the nutrients. And then they had a melanin deficiency from a calcified pineal gland. So they had these 2 biological things working toward their degree of insanity. Now, we find that everyone had the same illness. If all of you were Europeans, all of you have the same illness because all of us were raised on the same soil, mind you. So your scientists have it, your religious leaders have it, your teachers have it, all of them have it. So they do not know they have it. Look, when our ancestors were trying to teach them about religion, about God, they did 3 things to this concept, this idea, this philosophy, which we never called a religion. All Oriental cultures call it a philosophy. The Europeans organize a group, a man in top of it, in charge of it, and they call it religion. That's altogether different from what we had as religion. So they organized their religions to inferiorize the woman, put her down, justify slavery. That's 2 things that their religions are going to do. Inferiorize the woman, justify slavery. That's 2 things, remember. And anything that refers to African religion is going to be called pagan. You go into the European version of the Muhammad or Islamic religion, it inferiorizes woman, it justifies slavery, and it calls anything African pagan. You go into the European version of Christianity, women are counted with cattle and all that sort of thing. It inferiorizes woman, justifies slavery, and call anything that deals with African religion pagan. It does these things, all of them, all the major European religions, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. All of those are European religions. Anything that the European uses to reinforce their position. So, as I mentioned before, if they give you religion, it's to rule and control you. If I give you the right to vote, it's to rule and control you. If I give you money, it's to rule and control you. All of these things are done to rule and control us. Now, when our ancestors were architecting and putting together our culture, they did not look over their shoulder at what the Europeans are doing. And we need not look over our shoulder at what the Europeans are doing. We don't need that to grow and develop and learn. Because as long as we look over our shoulder at them, we are always attached to them. So, traditionally, if I go in and I talk about health, nutrition, people say, well, where's your documentation? Oh, what are your credentials? Oh, you mean what plantation I was raised on? Why don't you just come out and say it? You know, that's what I want to tell them, but I understand we're all coming from the same kind of ignorance, so I say, oh, yeah, I went to school, you know, I got a piece of paper from the white man. He says my brain is officially in my head. You know, so I showed a piece of paper, but it means nothing to me. You know, and they say, oh, so I mentioned something about the glaciated ice age where the soil was robbed and all that stuff. Well, where's your documentation? Where's your evidence? I just point to white people. There's my evidence. You know, but, you know, I can't do that. I got to be official and scientific, and I run down all of this stuff about the soil and all that sort of thing, and I run it down the melanin deficiency. When you have a melanin deficiency, you're going to have obsessive compulsive behavior because you're protect an inferior position. When you just arrived on the scene of civilization 4,000 years ago and you arrived violently coming into Africa and Catfish had to throw you out, I'm using his nickname, Memphis. The city of Memphis named after Menace, yeah, right, okay, Menace, I had to go through all that. He threw them out and united Upper and Lower Nile, you see. So when they entered history, it was violently. Now we have all of these tools that are used to control and ruin us. And then we also have romance that is used to control and ruin us. And then you look up the word Rome, and you see it comes from Urim, and Urim comes from Rim, and Rim means the Nile. And Nile means the laws of the great truth, the laws of the female and male attributes of God. That's why God was always called Mother, Father God in our culture, because we could not conceive of a man being balanced by himself. So we call God Mother, Father God, you see. So the whole concept of romance is African, but they took it and used it to control and ruin us. The first epic on romance is the epic about Ata, the romance of Ata, an African brother. Because romance is conceived as I meet a woman, and a woman meets me, boy meets girl, that kind of thing. And you go into this yin-yang symbolism of man and woman, which the Europeans also took. It goes like this. Yin-yang. The yin-yang is the male and female together, you see. And they just took out this part and left the other part, because that connects it to Africa. Just as they took the number 5 and took out the ankh that was on top of it and just left this part. Because if you leave that in, it connects to Africa. So they took all these out. It's a thing about the words you get. If you ever looked at the old Bibles, you see these words, all these decorations around them. That is the holistic meaning of the letter. That word is a story in itself. So you won't find all of these. I'm digressing here. I don't like to do that to you. And you find all these curly cues around words in the old Bibles. That's the holistic meaning that our ancestors put on the words. So the Europeans could not deal with all of that, so they just left it that way. You see. So I'm saying this whole thing about romance is taken away from us, and now it's used to control and ruin us. And also sex is used that way. Sex is used to control and ruin us. That's all it's used for. There's no other purpose for it. It is one of the highest grossing things in this country. Sex is used to make money. And anything that's used to make money, the white people are not going to let you have. But nonetheless, we're getting into this mineral deficiency, and we're trying to be very scientific about it. Now, when you have a melanin deficiency, what melanin does is it controls the rate in which your bones grow. The calcium magnesium ratios. It controls bone growth. So African people have a higher density in their bones than Europeans. Our muscles are darker and has a lesser salt content. Our muscles are lighter, excuse me, so we have fast twitch muscles which responds to stimulus faster. Now I've given you that the bones are different. I've given you that the muscles are different. Our blood is different. You see, we have a lesser amount of white blood cells. And our red blood cells crystallizes in a kind of pyramid shape when you burn it. And the Europeans does not, you see. So our blood is different. Then our nerves have more melanin in it, so it transmits messages better. The one thing that melanin does is it stores from memory to memory. It's like if you want to remember something, you have to go back to your memory and think about it, and then you bring it up to your present state of mind. Well, when you're African, you don't have to. Wherever you want it is in the memory, so you just transfer from one memory to another. You see, and so the Europeans met our ancestors. You ask them a question, and they act all slow in answering it, and they breathe deep. You know, they must be dumb. You see, we didn't have to go through all that to get our information. We just did it, deep breathed, transmit the information back and forth, and it was done. The conversation was over. We use less words. The Europeans are known to talk a lot, giggle a lot, and chew chewing gum. They're very talkative. The American Indians said they talk a lot. Of course, American Indians always told us that they speak with forked tongue. You know, and we just say they use word trickery. To us, we are labeling a mental illness. That's what I'm trying to get you to see. Stop saying this word trickery. Stop saying they have racism. Stop saying all of that. They have a mental illness by anybody's definition. By their own definition, they have a mental illness. You look at a selenium deficiency, zinc deficiency, phosphorus deficiency, potassium deficiency. Look at it. A person that suffers from that has a mental illness, scientifically. A person with a melanin deficiency has an obsessive compulsive disorder. Scientifically, they are mentally ill. They're not white racists. They are mentally ill. Let's call them what they are.